Hello. Hi, can you hear me? Just let me know if you can hear me well. I have these new headphones. Hi, okay. So I guess you can. You can hear me, right? Yes. Thank you so much. Okay. Um, so this is my first live this summer. The second this year. I don't do this very often. So I first want to tell you something about myself. I don't know how much you know. Hi from India. Yeah, okay. Hello. Hello to India. So I am obviously an English language teacher, and I've been involved in English language teaching since 2008. I studied English language and literature at university, and later on, I also finished CELTA, which is a Cambridge English course for language teachers who teach English as a second language or as a foreign language. So I used to teach at a language school for a very long time. And since September last year, I set up my own business, my own language center, where I teach now in the classroom, face to face, and online. Okay, so I teach both general English and academic English, English for academic purposes, which is basically C1 and C2 levels of English. Hello, everyone, again. So, my name is Jelena, or here on Instagram, I'm Ellen. You can call me whatever you want, Ellen or Jelena. So, now, something else about me. Yeah, my main focus is now English for academic purposes. C1 level, C2 level, but I also teach B2. And B2 is usually just, the preparation for C1, because C1 is our like main goal always, and C2 is just for language enthusiasts. That's what I like to say. So what I love is personal development. I love attending seminars and webinars and conferences, and I'm sort of a geek. I love studying all the time. I love self-education, self-development. So you would just, usually you will find me with a book. And what I love most is using these new ideas I learn at these seminars and conferences. I love using them in my own teaching, in my own classroom. Okay, and adding them to my own materials. Okay, let me just look at this question. Well, see, now we're gonna see how to learn. Now, what I think is important is that to tell you that during the course of my teaching career, which is long, I'm 38 years old, so I've been teaching for like 13, 14 years. I have prepared more than 180 students, candidates, for Cambridge English exams, B2, C1, and C2. I think that's important because of all the experience I have and I gained during this whole course, because I've been not just teaching for the exams, but doing research, like how to prepare my students the best way. I've been watching all these webinars and seminars by Cambridge English. So, I believe that I can help you with the exams. Now, this live is all about how to incorporate all the grammar that we learn and all that vocabulary that we study into our speaking. Basically, learning grammar, studying grammar looks safe. So teacher tells you okay, so teacher teaches, I don't know, present simple today, or present tenses, and we learn the rules, we do the activities, and then what? What do we do with it? We have to use it. That's the point, to use it in our speech and to use it in our writing, to turn that passive knowledge into our active knowledge, into our active skills. Okay, now how is this grammar and how is the vocabulary assessed when we look at Cambridge English exams and when we look at that CEFR scale, which is the basis of it all? So on the CEFR, which is the Common Framework of Reference, European Common Framework of Reference, there we have the criteria, like what should an A1 student know at that level? Like what kind of grammar, what kind of vocabulary, what could they do, what can they do with their language? Then what can an A2 student, what should an A2 student know? Then the same about B1, B2, C1, and C2. Now, at level B2, let's say, the person who is at level B2 and who in the exam should get band 5, so the highest band, the highest score, it says that person should show a good degree of control of simple and some complex grammatical forms. So a good degree of control, not like total complete control, but a good degree of control of simple and some complex grammatical forms. Okay, so let's start with that. Then at C1 level, we're moving one step up. This learner should show a good degree of control of a range of simple and still some complex forms. So that's the difference. At B2 level, you should show a good degree of control and of simple language. At C1 level, a range of simple language and some complex. At C2 level, you should maintain control of a wide range of grammatical forms and to use them with flexibility. That's the thing. So at C2 level, a wide range of simple and complex grammatical forms, use them with certainty and flexibility and confidence. Okay, so that's about grammar. Now, the question is, what is simple grammar? What is complex grammar? Simple grammar, let's see. All these simple tenses, okay? Simple clauses, simple basic tenses, not simple but basic tenses. Present simple, present continuous, past simple, past continuous, present perfect continuous, past perfect. Okay, so basic tenses, simple clauses, okay, so that's simple grammar. Simple clauses, the use of articles, okay. We should know some phrasal verbs, not all of them, but some phrasal verbs, dependent prepositions also. I have a list here, I have my notes, so when I'm looking down, that's why I'm doing it. So phrases, collocations, so that's simple. Now, complex grammar, here we have not simple clauses, we have combinations of simple clauses. How do we combine them? Well, we combine them with linking words, okay? So, for example, we use although and however and nevertheless to combine two simple clauses. Then we should use noun clauses, relative clauses, participle clauses. These are all subordinate clauses. And verb patterns, like when to use a gerund, when to use an infinitive. And also modal verbs, conditionals, passive. Okay, so all that is complex. And at C1 level, we should show them that we know some complex forms, and at C2 level we should, show them how confident we are when speaking English and using all those complex forms. Now, what can we do when speaking? Okay, so we are safe when we are doing these activities. We are doing the open, I don't know, open gap activities. We complete the sentence with the correct form. We know how we do it. But then when we speak, at least my students tend to use very simple sentences and not at all include that grammar into their speech or writing. Now, the thing is that it should be, that should definitely be conscious effort. You should consciously try to incorporate that complex grammar, and later on we'll talk about vocabulary, into your sentences. Now, for example, I'm going to give you an example. You can say, this is simple, I did a project at the weekend. I forgot to bring it today, and I'm sorry about that. Now, that's simple sentences, simple. If you want to make it more complex, we can do it like this. We can start with a linking word. For example, although. Although I did a project at the weekend, I have forgotten, present perfect, I have forgotten to bring it today. I would appreciate it if you would forgive me for that. So I would appreciate it if you would. Okay, so that's leveling up, thinking how we can incorporate the language that we know, that we have learned, into our active, productive knowledge, speech in this case. Okay, or I can say, I studied languages at university. So let's say now I want to work as a teacher. Now, these two simple sentences, we can connect them using a participle clause that the examiners really like, and that is complex form, grammar. And you can say, having studied languages at university, now I want to work as a teacher. Okay, just let me check. Do you know what it takes to reach C1 level from B2? Yes, I do. Now we are talking about that. Okay, so about grammar, one more thing. In this framework of reference that tells us everything about how Cambridge marks and grades our performance during the exam, it says that we at C1 level, for example, we should show them some complex grammar forms in speech, that we know some complex grammar forms. This doesn't mean that you should play it safe with simple grammar and think that, okay, if I tell them everything like everything in the exam using simple grammar and I don't make any mistakes, I'm gonna get an A. No, you won't, because they are looking for those complex forms. Don't play it safe. That's the thing. Don't play it safe. The examiner will recognize your effort even if you make a little mistake with some complex grammar. So be brave and try to stretch yourself, especially when you're in class, when you're in that safe environment with your teacher who can correct you. So your class, your lessons are the perfect place to practice and not to feel ashamed or afraid or whatever when speaking. So that's your safe environment. That's where you should practice in the exam. No one is going to correct you. So use your classes for that purpose. Okay, just one comment. Could you please share if you know there are opportunities or courses after which one can land onto jobs teaching English? If not, then even learning English on an international level. Well, yeah, you can do the CELTA. You can do the CELTA if you want to teach English. Even if you haven't studied English at university, you can study whatever you want, and then you can do CELTA course. Cambridge, you get this Cambridge diploma for teaching English to students of other languages, and then you can teach. Yeah. Okay. Now, that's about grammar. Okay, that's like the theory. Now, later on, we are gonna talk about some practical tips on how you can do this leveling up. Now, about vocabulary. In the CEFR, on the CEFR chart, it says that at level B2, you should use appropriate vocabulary to give and exchange views on a range of familiar topics. Familiar. Okay. C1 level, you should use a range of appropriate vocabulary, again, to give and exchange views on familiar and unfamiliar topics. So, you know, when you get a question at C1, and you think, oh my God, I don't know what to say about this. I have never thought about this. Well, that's okay, because that's the point. You will need to give your views on unfamiliar topics too. Finally, at C2, we should use a wide range of appropriate vocabulary with flexibility to give and exchange views on unfamiliar, not familiar, just unfamiliar and abstract topics. We don't have abstract at level C1, but at level C2 we also have abstract. So that's the difference. That's how they graded the language. Okay, now what is that appropriate vocabulary? Appropriate vocabulary, that's words and phrases that fit the context of the given task. Let's say that you need to talk about the environment. So what could be the appropriate vocabulary when talking about the environment? The pollution, or I don't know, maybe some problems that we are facing nowadays. So we're talking about the environment. There's usually something either in speaking or in writing that we need to talk about or write about the environment, because that's really a burning issue nowadays. So in the exams, there's always something like how to reduce the pollution, or I don't know, something about endangered animals. So we should know a lot of specific vocabulary related to certain topics, like for example the environment, and then I don't know, tourism, and then could be like education. So I suggest that you have those, I call them vocabulary banks. Now on my page you have a couple of them, vocabulary bank for something. So you should have like a piece of paper with a title, let's say environment, and then you should write down the vocabulary related to that topic. Then when you want to practice speaking on that topic or practice writing on that topic, let's say an essay, you just, you pull out your vocabulary bank, your piece of paper with all that vocabulary, and try to consciously use it in your speech and in your writing. And that's how we level up, consciously using the language until it becomes natural. Lou, hello. I just saw that Lou's here, my student from Spain. Okay, so now, what is appropriate vocabulary? So the vocabulary that fits the context of the given task. How can someone show they have a good range of vocabulary at higher levels? Well, we should show them that we know lots of those fixed expressions, that we know how to organize our speech using those discourse markers. Now, tomorrow morning, I'm going to upload a post with some of the discourse markers. There are like hundreds of them. So these are just some of them. Discourse markers, so fixed phrases, discourse markers, all that is good, shows us a good range of vocabulary at higher levels. Idioms, phrasal verbs, collocations, and a greater variety of words on a certain topic. As I said, if it's the environment, let's say, we should know all such words such as, okay, for example, deforestation, air pollution, I don't know, contamination, waste disposal, what else? Poaching, if it's about the animals, endangered species, okay? And if you want to check if these words are at some higher level, you go to Cambridge English Dictionary, and usually not next to every word, but next to most of the words, you have the little symbol of what level the word is, like C1 or A1 or B2. So Cambridge English Dictionary shows you the level of the word, and Oxford also. And if you look at like Longman Dictionary, they are like little dots. So if all the three dots are like red circles, it means that it's a common word that is widely used. So if it's widely used, if it's a common word like love, that's a word which is at a lower level. If there's like just one red dot out of three, two are empty, one is red, that means that the word is at a higher level, that it's not that much used. Now, the one more important thing is that the word doesn't have to seem advanced in order to be used in an advanced way, because I have that rubric, those posts that I sometimes upload, which is like called one word different level. So one word can be in some contexts it can be at level A1, and in the other context, when we use it in another way, it can be level C2. So you don't have to use those fancy words that sound, I don't know, weird, in order to be at like to feel that you are at some high level. It can be just a simple word, like for example that phrase I posted the other day, like I'm all at sea, like I'm so confused. C is not a high level vocabulary item, but the phrase is actually at that higher level on the scale. So it's not about using those C1 and C2 words all the time, especially when speaking. It's about using the right words in the right context and collocations and phrases which actually raise our level. Okay, so I'm going to show you how you can upgrade a sentence. Let's say that you say this: most of my classmates use their phones to watch movies online. Most of my friends. Instead of that, we can consciously think, okay, how can I upgrade this? And you can say, okay, the wide majority of my friends. Most of my friends. Okay, so the majority of my friends. Okay, that's one way. They use their phones to watch movies online. They use their devices to stream movies online, or to stream online content. That's what we can do. Okay, that's one way. So now, moving on, I have more for you today. The most important thing is to try, as I said, to consciously incorporate those words that you study in class into your active use, into your active vocabulary. Putting our knowledge to active use, that is definitely the key. Now, what about speaking? Speech is different from writing. I watched a couple of days ago, I watched this webinar. Cambridge English, Cambridge Assessment English organized it, and there are there's a question, and there are three answers to this question. Now, I'm going to read two answers, and I'm going to tell you which one is better and why. Now, the question is, do you think it's better to go out and do things after school, or is it better to stay at home? That's a question for students. So, do you think it's better to go out and do things after school or after work, or is it better to just stay home, and why? Now, one student said, nowadays it is believed, so this is about speaking. Student says, nowadays it is believed that children must know the dangers outside of their home. Therefore, it is safer for juveniles to stay indoors. What's wrong with this answer? This answer is okay. It's okay, but it's okay for writing, not for speech, because it is believed that this is a typical passive form which we use in writing. Like therefore is also a linking word which is formal, which we use in writing. Juveniles is not really something we would say on a daily basis when talking to our friends. So this speaking and the speaking exam in the Cambridge, during the Cambridge exam, the speaking in the Cambridge exam is actually about natural speech. You shouldn't sound as if you are, as if you were writing an essay. So you should speak naturally and as you would speak to a friend. Of course, you shouldn't use slang, you shouldn't use some very informal language, but you should just sound natural. Now there is this other example, and listen to this one. The question is the same. Do you think it's better to go out and do things after school, or is it better to stay at home? The other person answered, well, it could well be preferable to go out. Yeah, young people have had to stay at home a lot over the past couple of years. So now you might think that this is not a good answer, because it's like, well, it could well be stay at home. But actually, this examiner, this Greg person, is actually someone who writes for the exams, and he's a teacher trainer and he writes for Cambridge exams. What he said is that this is actually the best answer, because it shows good vocabulary. Like you can say, it could well be preferable to go out. That's a good way to use vocabulary. And we have another good thing here in this answer is young people have had to stay over the past couple of years. So that's all good. And all these fillers such as well and so and are okay, because they are part of natural speech. So this person would actually, as he said, get a very high grade for this answer. So don't speak as if you're writing. That's the thing. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Instead of focusing on not saying and so and and okay, you should concentrate on using grammar and vocabulary more expressively. That's the thing. Okay, now what about some practical activities you can do at home? How can you practice incorporating all that grammar that you study, like conditionals, into your own speech? Let's see. There's one interesting activity you can do. Let's say that you have a picture. Just take any picture you want from a magazine. And write down on a piece of paper, write down these words. Be, have, so one below the other. Be, have. then below you write modal verb / future tense, some future. Actually, future is not a tense, future is time. So modal verb or some future time, and then below you write a conditional. Okay, so you should, when you are speaking, practicing your speaking, you should use all these little prompts to help you use the grammar, activate the grammar that you studied. So be, have, modal, future time, and conditionals. So you're looking at this picture and you're sitting in a park and looking at some people or some kids playing, and you think, what is happening? So that's why we have that be. What is happening at the moment? What has happened? So that's why we have that. We have because we want to produce some perfect form. What has happened? Or then modal. What might have happened before this, or what might happen later on, or what could happen later on. Okay, and then future, like what's bound to happen next? What do you think? What is bound to happen next? Or what should happen next? Or what's going to, if you're predicting what's going to happen next, okay, in the picture or in this real world. And finally, conditional. So we want to think about how to include a conditional here, how to produce it. So you can, I don't know, think about what would have happened if something was different. So here we have a mixed conditional. What would have happened, like, I don't know, a moment ago, if something was different now? Or it could be just the first conditional. If this happens, what will happen next? So this is about upgrading your grammar. It's about these small things that actually raise the level. And consciously, just think consciously how to do it until it becomes spontaneous. So you have these be, have, modal, future, conditional. You have the picture, and then think about 3 sentences you should say for this first be. 3 sentences you should say for have, to use some perfect forms. Perfect, I don't know, present perfect and present perfect continuous. 3 sentences for future, 3 conditionals, and do it with effort, and then you can write them down to look at them again, and try to level up and to see if it's all good, if the grammar is good. What else you can do? One more thing. Another idea is to read a short story. It can be a newspaper article, a magazine article, a review. I don't know, you can also listen to a TED Talk, for example, or some short podcast, and then stop it and just, sit down and sum up what has happened. Sum up what you heard. Again, think about the grammar that you want to incorporate. Maybe you want just to practice conditionals. So think about 5 conditional sentences you can use using the context of what you have just read or heard. Again, what you can do is, take your phone, record yourself while speaking. That is very, very effective. Record yourself while you speak. Play it again. Listen. You will notice so many things you had no idea that you say, mistakes that you make, and then you should think about how to correct them. Record yourself again, listen again, do the same thing. So level up, record again, level up, record again, and do the same thing like 5 times. That is how we actually upgrade vocabulary. In this case, grammar, but exactly, we do the same exact thing with vocabulary. Now, let me see one more thing. I have no idea how long this is taking. Okay, so about vocabulary, let's say that you want to work on your vocabulary. This was all about grammar, now vocabulary. The thing is that we can't expect to produce amazing language spontaneously. It has to be conscious effort. Again, I don't know how many times I have said it, but it's like that. The more you practice, the more you practice planning new language, the more you are engaging with it. Okay, let's say you have a question, you want to answer this question. First of all, let's brainstorm all the vocabulary you can use while answering this question. So this is how you practice speaking. Okay, this is like training. Okay, so you sit down, you have a question, you want to answer it, and this time you want to focus on your vocabulary. It's not that much about grammar now, it's about vocabulary, and you write down all the vocabulary you want to use, and then think about how you can upgrade those words that you wrote down. You can find some synonyms or idioms online, or you can ask a friend what they suggest, how you could level up this vocabulary. So first you brainstorm the language, and then you can also consider what grammar you want to include here, and then again you can take your phone, record yourself. Okay, listen again, and the circle goes on. So there's no great amazing spontaneous speech. It has to be practiced. Also, I talked about grammar banks. So you are talking about a topic, you take a look at your grammar bank, you put it in front, and then that's how you practice in class with someone. There's a nice story. My student Nadia, she has recently passed her C1 exam with an A, the highest score. She told me, I have a friend, and we've been friends for a very long time. She's like my friend from the primary school, and we have made a deal that we are going to speak only in English at school or wherever, or when we go, I don't know, to the cinema. We're just gonna speak in English. And all the other people didn't like it, and they were like teasing them and things, but they just stuck to it, and they only spoke in English, the two of them. And that is actually an amazing thing if you have someone to practice in that way. It could be your brother or your sister or your friend, or I don't know, one of your parents. Just you can like speak to them in English. You can find I don't know, a speaking buddy, someone online. There are all those places where you can find someone nowadays. So she told me, Nadia told me, oh my God, yeah, when I would meet with a friend, they would tell each other, oh, I found this new word, I really love it, let's now use it, let's practice, let's see how we can use it. So it's actually amazing, and that's one of the reasons why she is so good now at English. So well, yeah, apart from the vocabulary bank and the list of words on all those typical topics we usually talk about and we have them in the exam, we should also have a list of those discourse markers. So I said that I'm gonna upload it tomorrow. For example, what are the discourse markers? So you can say, that's actually a very good question. I have never thought about it before, so that's a discourse marker. Or you can say, in terms of this, let me see, having said that, or it's be that as it may. So these are all those phrases we use to link one part of the sentence to the next. Okay. the thing is that learning an item of vocabulary or grammar in isolation is not going to help. You need to keep going back to the word, to that grammar structure, and practice in different contexts, in so that it's important that the sentence has some meaning for you. That's why I also suggest writing in English. Like if you are keeping a diary, do it in English. I did that. I used to do that. My vocabulary and my grammar and my confidence, they improved when I started reading in English and when I started writing in English. For me, for my own pleasure, nothing else. You know, that's the major stepping stone towards your success as an English language speaker or any language speaker. Okay, so let me see if there are any questions. Okay, so there's a question like, what's the meaning of some word? Well, okay, we'll talk about that some other time. This is not about. I mean, there are some people who ask me like, can you explain the meaning between these? Like, you know, there's dictionary, and just Google things. That's the easiest thing. Be self-reliant. It's important when I have to be honest. Language learning is not relying on the teacher. It's doing it on your own and being very, very self-reliant. That's the most important thing. Okay, so self-study is the key. What about this one? Request to join. Okay, so this time there are not going to be any guests. And any other where I'm I don't know if I said where I'm from. I'm from Serbia, a country in the southeast of Europe. And let me see if there are any other questions. Where are you from? Okay. Now, if there's nothing else, do you recommend reading newspapers in getting grammar and vocabulary, sentence formulation? Yeah, definitely. Reading newspapers is good. Well, just be careful if you're at a lower level. It might seem overwhelming, because that's the language. That magazines are okay, but even some magazines can also be hard for people at lower levels to read. But when reading, I don't know, newspapers on some topics such as politics or economics, it might prove to be very difficult. So you can read novels, you can contemporary especially, and there are those graded readers. So you can buy books which are I don't know, for example, here I have Jane Austen's book, and you can buy a graded reader, which means it's the same book but for lower level students. So it's like simplified. But later on, when you are already at B2 or C1 level, you can definitely read novels. You can read magazine articles, but just read what you like. That's the most important thing. Read what you like. Okay, so that's that, guys, for today. I hope this was useful. I'm gonna save this live, and I'll see you soon again. So see you, and thank you so much. This was interesting. Bye.